Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to the Murdoch DeFi YouTube channel. And in today's video, we have a pretty cool video lined up. We have Danny from MDB, and we brought him on the channel to talk a little bit about not only MDB, but what he's been working on kind of behind the scenes over the last couple of months. I'm sure it's actually been a long time that you guys have been putting together Foxify, but we're going to talk about those two things. And when we talk about Foxify, it's something that's very, very interesting to me. And I'm sure a lot of other people watching this might share that same opinion, Danny. But thank you for taking a couple minutes out of your day, hopping on with me and talking about what you guys got going on, man. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having it. It's great to be here. We've both been around the industry in DeFi terms for a long time. Always missed each other, which is impressive. So yeah, it's great to be on the Murdoch channel.
Yeah, and I was just kind of talking to you about this, but for me, as it relates to like the MDB side of things, it's something that I've heard about. I know that you guys have been around for what, like probably 9-10 months or something like that. So is that pretty accurate?
Yeah, 10 months.
So you guys have been around for quite some time now. But myself, like, I was never one that actually looked a little bit further at MDB. I heard about it in different circles and different groups and things like that. So it's cool to have you on here and kind of give us a rundown of MDB, how that's been going for you, obviously, now that you've been around for 10 months, and then we'll kind of shift over into what you guys have been working on, which is exciting, right? But if you could just kind of give me like a quick rundown of Danny, who you are, kind of what got you into the DeFi space, and where you're at with MDB right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So who am I? I'm British, but nobody's perfect, and I suppose look, I was feeling a little bit embarrassed with sort of my intro, because I think DeFi is full of people with these brilliant stories about all this experience they've got. But I've been around the block a bit. I've worked for a couple of Fortune 500 businesses at a leadership level. I've worked in the startup space. Took a business from a few people up to sort of 100 million plus valuation. Worked across very progressive technologies as well. Always been very fascinated with things like energy and sustainability. I've worked in additive manufacturing, 3D printing, software, and I was an investor within the space, and quite frankly, just very frustrated because I see I suppose an entrepreneurial sort of character. And you see this fantastic opportunity. Blockchain itself is hugely interesting technology. It has the ability to change the world as we know it. And then this power of the community, and you see those two things come together and nearly always fail, right? That's the elephant in the room. And for me, that was really frustrating because it just felt like every time all of that potential wasted. So I designed MDB basically to be the counterweight to all of sort of the main reasons why projects fail and why they don't last, why it's very difficult, once a project has been through that pump and that dump, so to speak, why it's very difficult for them to sort of deliver sustained growth over time. And that's what MDB does. It's it's designed so that you should always have FOMO with MDB, actually, because the fundamentals are that the backing price is increasing over time, the supply is coming down, the fund is going up, and that's been working very well. MDB, we launched a week before Terra Luna, so it was very difficult to get traction early on. However, the way the protocol was designed, it's very difficult for the protocol to go much below our starting price, actually, and that is designed in. It wasn't luck, it wasn't like community sentiment or anything like that. It's just very, very impossible, very hard for it to drop a lot. So it was a bit of a slow start for MDB in that sense, as we went through every single crash you could think of. And then it really picked up as we sort of like delivered our roadmap. We added Xenia, you had farming, staking, as well as these deflationary mechanics in the background. Then we really started to take off. And so people, MDB has done, let's be honest, it's done extremely well when you compare it to the market that we've been in. But it was designed for that, right? It's not an accident. We haven't fluked it. It was designed so that I could sleep at night. And
exactly.
And despite the worst sort of nightmares taking place, largely I've been able to sleep at night most nights. So
yeah. And how has that been, like, because I know for a lot of people, being like the head of a project can be not only extremely time consuming, but it can be extremely stressful at times too, to the point where it's like, man, do I even want to continue doing this?
Yeah.
Has that been something that you struggled with, or has that not really been a thing?
No, definitely. I think, like, don't get me wrong. I think I'm a pretty resilient person with lots of sort of life experience, and
Sure.
been through many sort of stressful situations. And I couldn't imagine being a 22-year-old me and not having those experiences and then going through this, if I'm honest. And the fact that I'm a bit older and I've got children means that emotionally keeps your feet on the ground to a certain degree. So it doesn't matter. You could build a billion portfolio, you're still waking up with Spider-Man being pushed in your face, and it doesn't. So they keep you grounded when things are going really well, and they keep you grounded as well when things are maybe not going as well as you would like.
Sure.
But it's super stressful. People keep knocking out projects every week, and I'm like, why? Like, unless you're solving a problem, you're just diluting the space, and not only are you making it even harder for a decent protocol to perform, you're probably going to fail. Let's be honest. It's not not even you. It's just an extremely difficult industry.
Right. So as you guys pushed out MDB and things started to kind of sustain, and I guess like the vision that you had, or the way that you designed the protocol was like it was doing the things that you had in your head. Like, what gave you the mind shift to be like, okay, well, let's work on something else rather than just kind of keeping things where they are right now?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think so. Some of it, there's probably two things. One is just about time, right?
Mm.
The way MDB works, the mechanics. As long as you're bringing down the supply and you're increasing the fund over time, whilst it will, move within a channel, and that channel could be really varied, right? It could 2x and it could drop 50%. It does have variation in the price. It's not like a stable token, but at the same time, I suppose the mathematical floor is always increasing, right? If you burned half of supply and you've got the same fund, your backing's just doubled, right? If you double your fund and you burn half of supply, you've times 4 your backing. So mathematically speaking, so that works fantastically well, and that would just work forever, right? You could make it an autonomous protocol and then just disappear, and it would work over time. The question is, though, without all the other stuff, you need volume. The more volume that comes through the protocol, the faster that process works. The faster the burn, the bigger the fund, and all of that happens. So in this market, one of the challenges has been volume, right? Liquidity is like really, really low. Even I had another AMA recently, and I was saying about, you look at the top level, Bitcoin pumping, ETH pumping, it all looks fantastic. But, apart from some huge bags moving the market, there isn't a lot of money around at the moment. So volume's a real challenge. Now, Foxify gives MDB this, significant revenue stream, which just plugs into it. And also that means that we can be, more reliant on the performance of a business rather than on sentiment. Whilst our fundamentals are very strong, sentiment also drives, something. We 2x'd in January. That's not all fundamentals, right? Our fund didn't double in January. At the same time, when we drop a load, our fund doesn't drop 50%. But sentiment and mood and the chart and all of that stuff drives it. So strategically, really, the whole idea of doing something else, about building something that has huge potential, right? Our goal is to take on a $200 trillion market long term, and you've only got to deliver 0.001% of that, and it's life changing, and that's what we're doing this for, right? Is to try and deliver life changing results quickly.
Yeah, definitely. So let's kind of jump into Foxify a little bit. So from my understanding, and you and I have chatted on a video call before this, and we touched a lot on the details pertaining to Foxify. But essentially, like, this is like a peer-to-peer trading platform. But I mean, without taking too much of your fire, can you kind of give us like a 10,000 foot view of exactly what Foxify is?
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I suppose we see huge opportunity within decentralized trading, but there's also I think there's a lot better execution that can be done. Certainly, when you look at some of the market leaders, and there is a huge opportunity there. The market is huge, right? It's absolutely huge, and so what Foxify does, which is very unique, is it will have perpetuals, because I will say, perpetuals is like selling coffee at the gas station. It's just a commodity, right? It's like selling bread in the shop.
Right.
You kind of have to have it, but it then also has a unique trading platform, an options platform, which allows the trader to be either the market maker or the trader, actually, and to even set the rate themselves for an option, and that's very unique, because a central exchange is the platform, and when you're trading against the central exchange, right? The more you lose, the more money they make. Yep. Now, what's ironic is that when you look at a decentralized trading platform, it's exactly the same. It's decentralized. It's all happy clappy kumbaya. It's part of the people. But in truth, the fact is there's people with millions, tens of millions of dollars who are the liquidity providers, and they are the house effectively in this trading scenario. And the traders playing. The more the traders win, the less money they make, and vice versa. So you've got this situation where Foxify is different. Is that me or you can be either side of that. Yeah. It doesn't matter if you've got $100 million or $10. You can be the market maker if you want to be, as well as being the trader.
So would you say that Foxify is more, or like on the lines of like you and I betting against each other, rather than like actually trading perpetuals on a centralized exchange?
Yeah, and it's interesting you say that, because is I stay like very clear of sort of any language that suggests it's anything other than trading for a number of reasons, but it is. However, there's this myth that decentralized perps trading platforms, that you actually trade in the asset. You're not.
Right.
You're not. If you're the liquidity provider, because you're Mr. I've got $10 million I can stick in a pot and just make a few percent a month, and I'm the trader, I come along with my last $100 and I trade that 50 times leverage that ETH is going to go up. We're not buying any ETH apart from what's in the liquidity sort of pool. If ETH is what part of the liquidity, then it is, but we're not buying ETH, right? We're not actually trading ETH options or perps, and so that's the fundamental. Actually, that already exists in a sense where it's the trader taking on the house, whereas where Foxify is different is that it's the everyday person can be the house or the trader.
Right. So let's talk about if I wanted to interact with Foxify and I wanted to be the house, and I wanted to, like, how does that work in and of itself? Obviously, we know that, like, conversely, if we wanted to bet against the house, then that's pretty easy to surmise, right? But in terms of like being market maker on Foxify, like, how does that work?
Yeah. It's I have to be careful what I say, because we're not releasing all the final details until 2 months before we launch, because everything gets copied in DeFi. But and it is unique on the market. So but to give you a simple summary, you imagine if you're one side of a trade, and let me give you an example. So maybe I'm very confident that ETH is going to go down today. It's been pumping for weeks. I'm very confident it's going to go down. So actually, I'm prepared to offer an ETH option that will pay 50%. You could put down $100, and if you're right, ETH goes up at 1% today, I'll give you $150 back. Yeah.
Right.
And so I've set the option. Now, what that does, interestingly, is it creates competition on that side, which creates more value for the trader. So actually, if I'm going to offer you 50%, maybe another guy comes along and says, I'll offer 60%. And obviously, you always take the best rate first, right? So now that competition on the market maker side between retailers or market makers or liquidity providers, what that does is creates better returns for the trader. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah. You mentioned something in the beginning when we first started this AMA, that even now in the market, that transaction volume is is on the lower end than it has been in, I would say, like the last 2 years. Now, do you foresee that being an issue too with Foxify, just not being able to gather enough people to interact with the project or the platform, and like struggling to have users, or what are your
It's a
thoughts
great
there?
question. Yeah, and look, you should you should never start anything without understanding the answer to that question. It's a fantastic one, and there's two things. So number one, so in the bear market last year, over $12 trillion was traded on the top 10 exchanges.
Mhm.
Right, that's just crypto. Just crypto. We're not talking about the broader market, Robinhood, eToro, all of those people. So $12 trillion. If a platform like Foxify, if it was able to deliver 0.01% of that value, it would be delivering fees of $3 to $5 million a day, right? Now, add to that, there's a huge movement towards decentralization. I think I think there as the technology around decentralized trading improves, then I see market share, shifting from centralized to decentralized. How many more times do you or I, we could train for 10 years to be the best trader that's ever lived,
Right.
and our exchange goes bust whilst we're asleep.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter. You're broke, right? Your money's gone, and a decentralized platform takes that risk away. So I think, so in answer to your question, I think there is a huge market there, and you only need a ridiculously small part of it for it to be very lucrative. Secondly, also it's a growing sector within the market at the same time. Thirdly, you need exposure, right? You need huge exposure. So that's why we're going into Foxify with a very different hat on to what we've done, right? Because it's our reach is very broad. We're looking at anybody that is interested in trading.
It almost seems that way too in just your branding. Would that be pretty on par with what you're saying?
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I'm shaking my camera when I move.
No, no worries.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the challenge you've always got to give yourself, right? Because you always get used to the furniture around you, and that's just human. It's human nature. And so when you want to deliver something that's 1,000 times bigger than anything you've ever done before, you always have to kind of challenge yourself. And we are doing that. Like, even if you look at the logo, the branding, we're saying, is this a brand that you could imagine on the back of heavyweight world champions, vest?
Yeah.
Is it something you could imagine on a NASCAR? And
That's so funny that you said that, because I was just gonna say that. Oh, that's hilarious.
yeah, and that is part of it. But also,
Yeah.
it's about spreading your wings and meeting new communities, and it's part of the reason we're here talking to you as well, right? Because
Yeah.
we need to. It's very easy in DeFi. I think there's many different solar systems, and every solar system believes they're a universe until they leave their solar system, and it's really important for us to we need to reach galaxies with
Sure.
Foxify. So it needs a different approach.
So how does and if you're cool talking about this, how does Foxify make money, and how does that, or does it even benefit MDB holders?
Yeah, it's a fantastic question. So Foxify makes money from trading fees. Trading fees on the options only comes from the winning side, actually. So you don't get a double kick in the balls if you lose on your trade. And there's a number of other revenue streams. There's marketing revenue streams. There'll be a stable swap on the platform as well from day one. So that whatever you're coming from, you can swap into the platform and trade straight away. So that's how it makes money. The protocol itself owns a large portion of its own supply. You stake that supply and you earn a share of the fee. So the token that comes along with Foxify will be a zero tax token. Purely there to stake and earn a percentage of fees, and then you can also stake your earnings then into the liquidity pool for perps as well. Actually, you can kind of double layer your earnings if you like.
Right. So that's kind of nice, because if I'm somebody that doesn't necessarily think that the peer-to-peer trading platform appeals to me, but I can also go a different route to be able to take advantage of how you guys are earning funds too, and that's through the Foxify token.
Yeah, exactly. You just literally own the Foxify token, you stake it, and you'll earn a share of platform fees equal to your share of the staking pool. And your second question was, how does that affect MDB? So MDB is sort of like first through the door seed investor. So we'll own, in return for its investment, own, a significant number. We're talking $5 to $10 million worth of Foxify tokens in a protocol that only has a market cap of 11 million at the moment. Backed by sort of a 2.5 million fund. So so for MDB, the benefit is clear, right? I think if we can achieve 5% of what we're aiming to achieve, then it's extremely lucrative for MDB as well as an early investor.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And it seems like there's multiple different ways to kind of play it, but it's definitely something that I'm personally excited about, and I hate to shift the conversation towards a negative, but given the light of everything that's been going on the last, I would say the last couple months, really, if I'm being honest, it's probably been the entire time I've been in DeFi, but we all see different projects that pop up and they end up disappearing. Like we just had, you mentioned the Hope Finance, I believe, that just rug for almost just shy of $2 million, which is absolutely insane. But then it's funny, you see projects that have been around like MDB for 9-10 months and are doing well and have, I think you guys are between a 4 or 6x since launch, right? How is there a way to shift people away from the shiny object and go with stuff with that is proven to be reputable and have a solid team behind it and is performing well? It's
really hard. It's really hard. And I obviously put a lot of thought into this before we started MDB, and there's things that I've also then learned on the journey. And if I'm honest, because we're being very candid, right? So I might get shot for my opinions, but I can live with that. And look, I think project leaders and investors are locked in this dance that is very difficult to get out of, right? And I think one thing that we've done with MDB that I'm really proud of is that I think maybe I thought as a a guy who sat on the train going into work every day, pissing around in DeFi and investing a little bit of money, I thought if a project would come along that would just be solid, have great long-term prospects, deliver me fantastic APY on farming or staking, I would put in 5 figures and I would just love that project. I'd never go anywhere else, right? Where am I going to go? Am I going to put it in the bank? And in truth, I probably, because you will see the world through your own lens, I probably thought a much larger proportion of investors have that view than they really do. And in truth, I think 90% of people want to get rich quick and very little trust in the industry and also projects themselves. And the psychology and the way AMMs work just means that it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And that's why this spike, this spike used to take 12 months. And then it started taking 9 months, and then it took 6 months. And you see in the last few months, it takes a week, right? A project launches is done a week later. So it's people want the opportunity, but this dance between project and investors and the fundamental flaws within the industry are just creating this scenario where there is a playbook if you want to try and make money in DeFi, and the time window to do that is getting squeezed and squeezed and squeezed and getting shorter. And I think where MDB is different is that obviously we the design of the protocol counteracts that, but we're slowly rounding up the people that are a bit like me, the guy on the train, just I've got a few quid I could invest, and I just want someone not to shit on me and deliver me decent returns, and they'll have my loyalty. And when you go into MDB, I think we've got 130 VIPs in MDB. If you look at our spread of token holding, it's really flat, really flat. I think we've only got 3, possibly 4 holders that own more than 10 million tokens, and we have 800 million in supply. Right? So it's a long answer to a short question.
No, I think and to I guess my next question would be then, does Foxify facilitate towards the investor that wants to get rich quick, or the other guy like yourself that just wants to park his money, or maybe both, right?
It offers both. Like, I think there's no such thing as, well, you can get rich quick, but it's, when AMMs are involved,
Right.
there's always a downside to the upside, and they're designed. I always say Google AMM curve. Look at the curve, right? It gets
Yeah.
faster, and that means that the further up it goes, when it finally starts to turn back, it's a steep fall, and that's why so many people get wrecked. It's just a mathematical formula, right? So I don't, Foxify won't be any of those things, but I think it offers the opportunity. Like, we'll be doing a lot of educational tools, in fact. So there's some really cool analysis you can do. You've got all of the history of time. We can see what ETH has done statistically, every 8 hours since ETH, was launched, right?
Yeah.
So the probability of it moving 1% in an 8-hour period down to 100 decimals, right? So you can start to build education around that. So you can then start to say, well, actually, if you offer, say, a 1.5 return on ETH moving 1% in 4 hours, it's a 50% loss, but actually you'll win 2 out of 3 times. And then, as somebody who maybe wants to then sort of start maybe dabbling on the other side of the trade, then you've got the data that can help you make like educated decisions. So that's sort of the strategy that we're going for.
Right. And again, I'm not sure how much you're willing to share, but are you guys planning on, like, I imagine in the beginning it's going to be a challenge to kind of fill up the user base, right? So do you guys plan on doing things to like facilitate growth in the beginning, or by like market making things yourself, or like putting these bets out there yourself? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think you don't do one thing; you got to do lots of different things. I think first and foremost, you can deploy all of these tools like market making and liquidity providers, but you need retail, right? At the end of the day. So as I'm sure you're aware, we've got this partnership with Tyson Fury.
Yep.
So that's obviously a huge move for a DeFi protocol,
Right.
probably almost unheard of. And so when he has his world unification fight at the end of April, 7-year world champion, beating Deontay Wilder twice, he's going to have 100 million eyes, and Foxify is going to be on his fight kit. So the level of exposure we're going to drive is significant. We're very lucky that we start with this. Our community is like 20,000 strong across Twitter and Discord, 96% verified as authentic, and so I think we have this fantastic foundation to build on. And we're pushing really hard, and we're shooting really big in terms of the level of exposure that we're creating. And those two things, we'll meet somewhere in the middle. But we'll also negotiate with liquidity providers and market makers, because there's a real opportunity there to to support the platform and also do well.
Cool. And when is the launch plan for Foxify?
June.
June. Okay. And I mean, if somebody, like, do you guys have like documentation out or anything like that, or is that kind of stuff still under wraps?
Yeah, no, we're being very cagey, around documentation. You can go to the website. It's basically a landing page at the moment, and but you can sign up as an affiliate, which obviously Murdoch will do. He's can't wait to be a Foxify affiliate, and there's a real social element to the way the platform works. So you can go and have a look at the page now, but it's basically a landing page. We don't want to put documentation. We'll be forked before we even launch if we did that.
Yeah. And how far is the development in terms of like the DApp and all that stuff on the back end for you guys?
Yeah, the platform. Yeah, we're in a really good spot. And in fact, I think you've got to bring together lots of different things to make something like this as successful as you want it to be. Our development team, our CTO is actually saying we could launch in May, and I'm like, well, let's hold off a little bit. So we're very comfortable. We've got a fantastic team on it as well.
Good. Awesome, man. Well, where can people find out a little bit more information? I know that you said that they have the website. I'm sure that also information will be dropped down into the MDB Discord as well, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Join
Okay.
join the MDB Discord. It's, you know, it's very un-bear market like. It's a very busy place, really lively. So get yourself in there. Follow our socials. We're going to be doing a huge airdrop campaign. The first airdrop will be 5,000, and then we've got a huge affiliate program as well. We're just about to hire an affiliate director, and you know, we'll be aiming for sort of 500 plus affiliates signed at least by the time we launch, aiming for 1,000 very quickly. So yeah, get yourself involved, follow the socials. We've got some huge announcements coming up. We'll be even talking about maybe doing a giveaway of a couple of tickets to Tyson Fury's World Heavyweight fights. We've got access to a few tickets, and yeah, you know, get yourself involved, and yeah, there'll be a lot of stuff happening in the next couple of months on the socials.
Awesome. Well, I will go ahead and in the description of this video, I will leave the links to not only the Foxify website, but the Discord as well for you guys to check out and join. Danny, thanks so much for hopping on here. I like to try to keep these guys short because I know at least when I watch AMAs, you got me for about 30 minutes. And then after that, yeah.
Agreed.
So,
and I take 10 minutes to answer one question. So
right. That being said, though, I would love to have an opportunity to have you back on when you guys are getting closer to launch and you have some more information to show us. But you know, I really do want to say thank you for coming on the channel and kind of give us a sneak peek of what you guys have been working on behind the scenes for the last couple of months.
Brilliant. Yeah, thanks for having us.
All right, guys. Well,
Cheers,
all right.